Now, should babies have the right to choose their own gender? Well, this transgender father thinks so. It's Sav Butler, and he refuses to reveal the sex of his baby so it can discover its own gender. And he says parents who ask whether it's a boy or a girl are weirdos, demanding, why do they want to know what's in its diaper? The 20-year-old also says he wants to avoid imposing an assumed gender that might not align with who they are as they grow up. Sav said he knew he was trans at 5 years old because he was uncomfortable in his body, and says, I don't want my kids to look back on their childhood and feel pain, which a lot of trans people have experienced. Carole Malone?
I knew he'd come to me on this first. You know what? I think he's lining up a whole lot of pain for his kids in the future. You know, to not tell them what to... That quote about the diaper, I thought, was just really... You know, people aren't asking what the baby is because they want to know what's in its diaper. It's a perfectly sensible question. Is it a boy or a girl? It's a perfectly sensible question.
Well, it's a factual question.
It's a factual question, yes.
It's just a biological
Totally.
fact.
And so these kids are going to grow up and he's not going to explain to them what they are. They're not going to know what they are. Imagine what's going to happen to them at school if they're asked what gender they are and their kids say, I don't know. He's putting unnecessary pressure on them from the very moment they're born.
Benjamin, why confuse these young babies?
But the thing is that, you know, I think for so many kids, they are confused by the gender stereotypes that are thrust upon them, and it may well have absolute...
No, they're not.
Well, I'm going to speak. It may well have... It may well...
I'm going to speak.
It may well have nothing to do with their transgender or what their future sexuality might be or anything like that. But I think we put huge pressure on children for
by saying you're a boy or a girl.
This is woke.
Let me speak.
Nonsense.
They put huge pressure on kids for boys to like blue things and girls to like pink things. The idea that it's wrong for a boy to have a Barbie...
Anymore.
It does.
This isn't still 1983.
No, exactly. That doesn't happen.
It does to a huge extent
No,
in the real world.
How many kids have you got?
The truth is, I've been a kid,
yeah,
and a lot more recently than you.
Well, yes, well, you don't have to dig me about it. I'm asking you simply because that's not how it is now.
Well, I mean, I just don't believe that
went out 20 years ago.
I don't believe that for a split second, sadly, though I think it's the right direction to go in. And so when this parent
Sorry, can I just say, it's the right direction to go in a world where we do not tell children what gender they are.
No, it's not child abuse. What's child abuse? It's the way that kids are slightly on an older age than being a baby, where kids and young people are forced to believe that they are something that they know full well they're not. Where kids are told that it's wrong to be camp if you're a boy, that you shouldn't be masculine if you're a girl. Those are the problems. And what this person is trying to solve, what he's trying to solve when he's saying that you shouldn't thrust these gender titles upon a child, is that they make their own way in the world and they decide for themselves.
Yeah, but they are children. The role
so why
of
force
children,
them to be in a box?
The role of children is to be guided by parents, not indulging in children's delusions.
But Dominique, you can't say it's child abuse.
No, it is child abuse, because at the end of the day, the vast majority of people do not identify as transgender.
But it doesn't need to be related to transgender.
You cannot impose...
It's just about them being themselves.
You cannot impose your own gender dysphoria onto your children, because I mean in general to the person. You can't impose your own gender dysphoria on your child, because the likelihood is in the vast majority of cases they won't be transgender. And I'm sorry, boys and girls naturally gravitate towards different things. There's nothing wrong with that.
But precisely, it should be the things they gravitate towards, not the gender boundaries that we decide.
I think it's homophobic to suggest that if a child wants to play with Barbies that just so happens to be a boy, or if a girl gravitates towards male things that just so happens to be a girl.
I agree, Benjamin.
But all of a sudden,
you're the one playing into stereotypes.
No.
Because actually, just because you're a girl, it doesn't mean that you're not going to want to play football, and especially these days,
but precisely,
that's what parents encourage.
No one's
but even they're still a girl.
But they are made to feel like they are outsiders, like that they shouldn't play with those toys, like they should wear those clothes.
This will make them
This
feel
is
like
simply a parent saying, be yourself.
So you don't believe in biological sex, fundamentally?
Well, of course biological sex exists, but it's not related to how some people will identify and experience the world. But you don't have to be related to transgender to just let them be themselves.
You said before you are putting kids in a box by telling them if they're a boy or a girl.
By making them behave in a certain way.
You're imposing your views onto your child, and children's brains are like sponges, and they're absorbing your warped ideology.
When you tell a child what interests it should have, what colours it should like, what toys it should play with, what jobs it should have as an adult, a lot of parents do that. It's completely normal in this society.
When I was a child, I went from walking around in my mum's heels in princess dresses to being a tomboy goth.
Me too.
And nobody
I did that too.
imposed that. Nobody imposed that on me. Nobody did. And I think we should let children explore what they want to explore. But saying you don't have a gender or a sex, it's child abuse.
But what you're doing is you're confusing children.
No, what you're doing is confusing.
No, because there's a lot of people, high-profile people, like Holly Branson, for example, and that woman from Fleabag, whose name I've just forgotten. Who is she? She's like the most famous woman, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who have come out publicly and said, if I was a child today, I think all of these people will have been telling me I should have been transitioning to another gender. And now, as adults, they know that would have been an absolute mistake for them. And I agree in this case with Dominique and Carole, who say this is confusing the children. Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.